keep doing this to yourself, Peter. You stopped a terrorist attack at the UN. You saved countless lives.
Yeah, but to do that, I had to let him go. Okay, and now every time there's a political assassination, there's an intelligence leak, terrorists shoot a plane out of the sky, I gotta wonder if I'm responsible.
You aren't.
So what does it feel like I am?
I love the season ending on Peter finding that ice cream he had with his mom. Would you say this is the happiest Peter's been at the end of a season yet?
I don't know. I think season 1 he was pretty psyched. He got resolution about his father. He got to be with Rose, and he got an invitation. He got a promotion. So like, I feel like, saving the president and getting a promotion and getting the girl and I'd be pretty psyched. But I think season 1 or season 3, it's the least amount of pressure he's felt, at the end of a season for sure.
What does he want in his next partner?
I'd just say competency. Like I think this is the first season we've gotten to see Peter himself like really become a night agent. Season 2, I think he was sort of I think the writers still wanted him to sort of feel like relatable and out of his depth and like what's going on, what is this world? And I think a byproduct of that was Peter never really finding his footing. And I think season 3, Peter is very capable and good at being a night agent. And so I would hate to have to shepherd someone in season 4 if there was one. I feel like it would be cool to have an equivalent almost of capability and conviction. I think that'd be really cool to see.
Peter says that he's thinking of taking like an extension past when his leg heals, but also immediately wants to know about his next partner. So where is his head when it comes to taking time off? Like, does he want it more than he thinks he can actually take it without being bored, wanting a distraction, wanting to get back into the action?
I think I sort of have this issue as well. I want to know when time off ends if I'm going to enjoy the time off. It's very difficult for me to just be told in an ambiguous way, hey, go take some time off. It's like, in order to relax, I need to know what's happening next. And if that's a weekend, great. If that's a month, great. The time doesn't really matter to me. It's more like, give me an answer so I can start to prepare for what's coming. So I think, he sort of just wants to know.
How does Peter feel about night action, given what was revealed about the Hagans, that they're scrubbing the program and now starting like a review process for all night agents? Has this changed how he views the program at all?
I don't know, because ultimately the use of a tool or the use of a system for evil doesn't necessarily negate the legitimacy of the system or the tool. Like using a hammer to commit a crime doesn't make it not good as a tool. And I think ultimately Peter recognizes the sort of legitimacy of night action as a program, but I think his faith in the people and his faith in the system itself is what's not great. I think he's also realizing that he has to be loyal to a principle and to truth itself and not the system that is telling him the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What does he do with time off?
It's a good question. Board games, probably goes out for a coffee, probably reads a lot, I feel like. Dry fire drills, stays in shape.
So getting to my favorite episode of the series so far, episode 8, because the scenes between you and Stephen Moyer were some of the best of the series in general. Sean told me that they represent the best acting work that you have ever done on the show. And I agree with that. Talk about filming those scenes.
Yeah, they were intense. But it was also, it was kind of nice to I remember asking Sean, what motivates this guy? Like beyond, I'm trying to get to the bottom of my dad and I'm trying to protect Rose. Like there has to be something deeper than that where he is willing to die for it. And I've always been wondering what that is. And we sort of hinted it with the mom and but I think there is stuff that's really deeper than that, in there that this drug sort of allowed to come to light a little bit and that Moyer was allowed to pick at. and find out. But it was great acting with him. You know, a lot of our stuff is just him chasing me. So it was great to have a scene with him. And they had to strap me to a chair to keep Peter from moving. They had to literally tie me down. So it was cool. Yeah.
How honest is Peter being in that scene with the father about himself? Like, is that complete honesty?
Yeah, so how that drug works, talking to the technical advisors, and we took some, liberties, obviously, but it's basically how it was explained to me. Like, if your buddy gets really, really drunk and he just starts like talking about things, that it's the minute it's in his brain, it's out of his mouth. And I don't think that Peter necessarily will remember. Apparently, they don't remember being on this drug. They don't remember what they say. They don't remember. So it is a very, I guess, like stream of consciousness type interaction. I don't think he's planning on saying anything. And yeah, I think it's as honest as he can be in that moment,
So if he doesn't remember, I was like wondering, like, is there almost like a weight off of him for saying that? But if he doesn't remember, then it's like, is there that weight off?
Yeah, that's what's sort of heartbreaking about it, I think, is he doesn't feel like he's told anybody that. And that's what's sort of sad, is he still has that in there. Yeah.
And then we got the stuff with the kid, which was a surprise. But I mean, those were great scenes too.
Yeah, he was great. Callum was really good. He was a really cool dynamic on the show. Yeah.
Do you think that kind of threw Peter, like, more than anything? Just like, oh, wait a second.
There's a kid in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, ultimately Peter's main facet of his personality is like responsibility. And I think with any adult, if you're in any situation and there's a kid that's alone, like, you just feel responsible to protect them. And even though Peter wants to get away and he recognizes, using the kid to get away, I don't think he's willing to like put the kid at risk. And that's that dynamic of like, hurry up, get me out of here. But also I don't want to, destroy this sort of innocence there is I think he feels sort of bad lying to him or manipulating him. But I also think it has to happen,
How does Peter feel about the father still being out there? Like, is that a loose end that he wants to tie up, or is he going to stick to that deal they made?
I think he sticks to every deal he makes. Yeah, I think Peter in this line of work is aware that if he were to kill the father, the difference would be negligible. There are like hundreds and hundreds of people like that that are out there. So for him to go after one guy who's just doing his job is sort of, useless in the scheme of things, dropping the bucket.
Yeah, and like, if they're not going to cross paths again, then it's not going to be on Peter's radar.
Yeah, exactly.
How does Peter feel about Catherine's death?
I think, I don't want to say he saw it coming, but I think ultimately in this line of work, death is something, the military adjacent sort of intelligence community people are so used to death as a reality that I don't think that the death in and of itself is tragic. I think to him, it's more that his decision ultimately is what led to it, his decision from season 2. And, he didn't want to use Jay as bait. So that kind of stuff is, I think, devastating to him, where he just is dealing with the cards he's dealt constantly. And I don't think he lives in I should have done, and maybe I shouldn't have, maybe I should have pushed harder to not use Jay. Like, I don't think he thinks like that. I think it's just, this is what happened. How do I make this right? And, but I do think it cements his sort of hatred and level of conviction in holding Monroe accountable.
So Pete and Isabel have that conversation about finding balance and what's next. And he does seem to be thinking about it before, like, being drawn back in by the thought of a new partner. But, like, do you think he goes to find Rose now?
I don't know. I think Peter is the kind of person that wants to be useful. And if he feels like Rose is in a better place without him, then I don't think he would. But I think if he definitely still has love for her, and I think he does want to stay in contact with her, but not if it's to her detriment,
So like he doesn't know if there's a future for them. It's kind of just waiting almost.
I think so, yeah. I think he wants one, but also he recognizes that like if the country's burning, that's not good for her. So how does he defend her by destroying the treasonous, corrupt people in the government?
Why is Peter so certain that Adam won't kill him, that he can get through to him?
I don't think he is. I don't think he is, at least. That's how I played it. Like, and if he's dead, he won't know any different. So to me, that scene was the fact that I'm even here and getting up right now after you shot me is all the answer you need. I am willing to die for this. I don't think Adam's willing to kill him for it. I don't think it was I'm going to convince him not to do this. I think it was like, do it. Because if I'm dead, I failed.
What would you like to explore with Peter going forward?
I'd just like to see Peter be pushed more in terms of misinformation. I think constantly he's sort of been betrayed by people in government, his own government. I think it would be nice to sort of have something where the mission is legitimate, and he knows who he's serving is good, but then he's deployed into a room full of, fog and mirrors, and it's like, how do you apply a relentless pressure and pace, but with no sort of enemy? How is Peter utilized when he can't even identify who the bad person is? I think like he gets constantly shot at, and he always has a face, Monroe, to be like, you're the bad guy. And I think without that, it would be sort of disorienting.
Are there any like types of characters you would like to see around Peter going forward?
I think someone who's not more proficient than Peter, but like, it's always interesting to me sort of having a foot in these adrenaline junkie sports that I do. To see someone who's more insane than you is always like a bit sobering. And I think seeing an agent or who's just like not only better than him technically, but more committed to the job, it would be like a whoa. I'd like to see that, I just want to see someone be better than Peter at something.
When we spoke last season in January, you said that season 3 contains your favorite stunt so far, one you couldn't believe they let you do.
Yeah.
Which scene was that?
That was the reverse 180 in Istanbul. There weren't a lot of, I don't want to say no safety precautions, but like, that was on me to either succeed in or fail in. And the margin of error was very small. And I had to go out with Josiah, my stunt double, and like film that angle from the back right pillar with a phone. Be like, this is what it'll look like. Trust me, it'll be sick. There won't be a camera operator. We'll mount it there. And I'll be looking past lens and then rip this reverse 180. And like, they kept saying no. And then finally the night came that they were like, yeah, why not? Try it. And they let me do it. And I got one try, I got one take, and it was sick.